Welcome back to Homeopathy at Home with Melissa. I am so happy to be here tonight with Cristina McMullen, and she's going to introduce herself, tell you about her. We are missing Bree tonight. She's on a cruise with her husband, so you'll miss her voice and her beautiful face tonight if you're watching this on YouTube. But we're just going to jump into our topic tonight is detox. So I know a lot of you are super interested in detox, and a lot of people contact me and say, what homeopathic remedy can I take to detox? And if you've contacted me and asked me that, I've said, well, homeopathy is meant to strengthen the immune system, and of course it can support the liver, and we'll get into all of that, but I don't use it to actually detox. So I love, Christina, that you have the knowledge on this, and that you're going to help my listeners learn some more about detox and what we should do and what we shouldn't do. So introduce yourself. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I am excited to be here. I love talking about detox and ways that we can just make our bodies as healthy as they can be. So yes, my name is Cristina McMullen. I am a mom to four kiddos and a traditional naturopath. I practice in one of the suburbs of Georgia, in the Roswell area. Um, Few times a week, kind of part-time, because with my kiddos, I'm also a homeschooling mama as well. So keeps me busy and keeps me on my toes. I just fell in love with the world of holistic medicine and healing, kind of with the personal experience of just trying. I knew my body wasn't working at its best after dealing with a mono infection when I was a teenager. And back then I was a ballerina. So I just wanted to be as energized and athletically fit as possible. And just through friends and family members, I was introduced to another naturopath and just was immediately hooked. The constant, why do our bodies behave the way they do and why don't they function optimally? Like the answers were finally being shown to me, and I wanted to know more, and I had to learn more, and I just dove deep into all sorts of education and research and training. And here I am 18 years later, trying to help people, teach them how they can keep their bodies healthy and maintain that on their own.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. So you are a traditional naturopath, and um, detox. What is, right now it's, well, not right now, but maybe for the last 5 or even 10 years, it's been super, super popular forefront. Like, we have to detox. People are always wanting, contacting me. I think people in the crunchy mom groups that I'm in, I'm always hearing about, detox. We have to detox this and that and everything. And I think people are detoxing or doing some kind of detox every 3 months, or what do you suggest? And as far as how often, or even just how to do it, just teach us. What do you do?
Yes. So detox, definitely, I say it's a buzzword these days. Everybody is totally talking about it. 15 years ago, yes, you hear detox and it's like, well, yeah, someone might need a detox if they walk into this completely toxic environment and they have this sudden flush of arsenic or mercury or something along those lines, or, people who are dealing with alcohol or drug addiction, they need to go to rehab centers and detox those pathogens and those toxins out of their body. Um, but there's so much more to that. And yeah, the holistic functional world, especially when you've got social media influencers talking about their detox protocols and stuff like that. It's just kind of become this thing. And you see people, it's like, oh, we're going to have fun over the holidays, and then we're going to have dry January, and we're going to detox, for a month and just stay away from alcohol or sugar detoxes. And now you're even see, like, let's do a parasite cleanse, or let's do a heavy metal detox. And yes, those things are great, because the reality is we live in a toxic soup these days. I mean, you can't go outside. The air is full of pollutants. The food is full of pesticides and herbicides and additives, preservatives, emulsifiers. We just are exposed to so many toxins. But without guidance, we can put ourselves into a world of hurt and kind of create more problems than we're trying to fix. And the other thing that we don't realize, and a lot of people have lost touch with, is God has designed our bodies to detox beautifully on their own. We have so many pathways that every second of every day is looking out for these toxins and pathogens, and it's scavenging them up and it's sending them to our other detox pathways. And everything works beautifully in symphony with one another to actually detox on our own. What we have to do nowadays, I think, is acknowledge that the level of toxic load that we're exposed to in our environment is surpassing our body's natural capacity and capability to detox on its own. It's like we've got this bucket, and every day these toxins keep coming in, and our bodies just can't get rid of them fast enough, you know. And so while I love systematic detoxes, maybe 2, 3 times a year, timed out and working with a professional. I really like to teach people and hone in on what simple things that they can do on a day-to-day basis to support our natural detox pathways, how they're the way they're intended to work and function.
I love that so much. So that's what I teach is, homeopathy is the medicine that I use in my family. It's the medicine that I teach. And so then the rest of it is what else can you do that's free?
Right.
Grounding and sunshine and no sunscreen and all the things. So tell us about tell us about that. What do you do with your clients or your I think you can say patients, right? You have patients.
Georgia doesn't really license traditional
Okay.
naturopaths, so we're kind of in that gray area. I kind of just haphazardly use it almost interchangeably.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so when I'm with people and they're asking, ultimately, like I said, our bucket's filling up. So we really want to, I mean, there's a couple things, but the main point I want to get across, and if we can focus on just one thing, is we want to out with the bad and in with the good. We want to reduce that toxic burden on our bodies while also giving it the nutrients and the supportive things that it needs for those pathways to function optimally. The liver gets all the attention. And yeah, the liver is very busy at detoxifying. It definitely, probably, of all of our organs and systems, has the biggest job when it comes to detox. But we can't forget about all of our other different detox pathways. When we think of how we're exposed to toxins, we have two huge organs and systems that are exposed to the outside world. The skin is our biggest organ. And then the GI tract probably has the biggest surface area. So it's exposed to all of those things that we're ingesting from our foods and our beverages and our water. So really focusing on those two things. How can we reduce, because we're never going to fully eliminate, how can we reduce that toxic exposure through our skin and our GI tract? And that, you've mentioned sunscreens and things like that. We want to watch what we're putting on our skin. It absorbs everything. So the sunscreens that have all the additives and preservatives and, things that are becoming more and more known to be carcinogenic, lotions. Women, I think, are super, super vulnerable to this because, we've got skincare routines that were being promoted and makeup and hair products and all of these things that are absorbed through our skin. Cleaning supplies, we really don't wear gloves. We're not really consciously doing that. So if we're, cleaning with bleaches and Cloroxes and different ammonia-based products, all of that is getting absorbed through our skin and it's adding to that toxic load. Same thing with the GI tract. We want to be aware of what's in our food and what's in our water and different beverages that we drink, because that's going to play a direct role on that gut and that healthy integrity of our intestines and our digestive tract. And that is really that main barrier. The skin's our barrier, but the intestines has a barrier too. And so we want to keep out the things that are going to break that barrier down so that the pesticides and herbicides and the preservatives and emulsifiers, all of the franken food ingredients that are in our food now, stays in our digestive tract and doesn't actually seep out into our bloodstream and add to that toxic burden and that toxic load. So focusing on the elimination and then looking at the things that our lifestyle has created just as a society that adds to that burden of how our organs and systems function, which stress and inflammation are the two main things, you know. So aside from eliminating those burdens in the toxic realm, we need to really eliminate those stressful triggers and the things that get our cortisol and our endorphins and our adrenaline running and get our body into that fight or flight stress response. Because when our nervous system is in the sympathetic fight or flight state, it really can't detox at all. It's stuck, you know. Our bodies aren't going to be worried about removing, you know, pesticides from our bloodstream or heavy metals if it thinks there's a bear chasing us and we have to run really fast to save our lives, you know. So we have to decompress and de-stress and, you know, really focus on those, that component of things too, so that our nervous system gets into that parasympathetic rest and repair state so that those detox pathways can actually function in the first place.
Yeah, so I love what you just said. Talking about the mental emotional piece of our health, that's where homeopathy shines. And so if you're, you know, when somebody comes to me with stress, anxiety, depression, whatever the mental emotional thing is that they're dealing with, that's the thing that's going to get better first in their whole health. So, um knowing that those stress responses can be balanced with homeopathy, along with whatever other natural free things, you know, that we can do, like
Mm-hmm.
moving our bodies, getting outside in the sunshine, you know, making sure your circadian rhythm is in balance. And so, um, so that's, you know, that's something that I could start to say to people, which I haven't so far, is when they come to me and say, I want to, what can I use for homeopathy to detox? Well, let's look at your mental emotional, because then your body, I think that's what you're saying. If you're mentally healthy, then your body can do what it's supposed to do.
Right. Your body's not even going to think about detoxing if you're in this fight or flight stress state. So you need to first, yeah, using homeopathy to address those factors and get that body into a better, healthy mental state is going to be so key in actually getting the body to detox in the first place.
Excellent. What else would you say to someone who, you know, if they are in that fight or flight, how would they, if they didn't want to use homeopathy, or in addition to homeopathy, what else could they do?
I'm a big fan of emotional freedom technique and tapping, heart rate variabilities. There's tons of apps that kind of work on breath work and getting the nervous system kind of tuned in with that. And focusing on the vagus nerve is another big factor as well. So singing, humming, chanting, turning your water to cold for the last 5 to 10 seconds of a shower, all of those things are great to get that vagus nerve stimulated on board to help with the limbic system and just again kind of reset that tone for the whole nervous system.
Do you notice the younger generation not singing? Do you
Hmm.
have you heard
Yeah,
that? So
yeah.
all I know is, you know, my children, they don't sing, and I sing all the time. I mean, I walk around the house singing, and if we're in the vehicle driving, I'm singing constantly, and I've
Yeah,
always been like that. So I didn't know if it was just me, just like what I like to do. I'm like, but my kids don't sing, and I'm like, that's what's wrong with you. You need to sing.
yeah. No, I do see it. I do tend to work with a lot of special needs kids. And I do think that a lot of autistic kids, all the humming and stimming and noises that they make, I think it's their way of trying to get
Yes.
their nervous system and their vagus nerve on board. It's just that intuitive, they're more in tune with their bodies, and I think that's just they know that's what needs to be done.
I never even thought of that. And you know, I also teach that with bone, and we don't have to get into this, is deeper and we don't have to get into this, but bone broth, bone broth where it's cooked long,
Hmm.
right? 24 hours, whatever, 72 hours or longer, it releases things into it that can actually be harmful to a leaky gut. And
Hmm.
so then people have been for years trying to push bone broth on their autistic kids, and the kids don't like it and they don't want it. And I'm like, because they know.
They know.
they're not supposed to
Yeah,
have.
they're so much smarter than we give them credit
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep. Yeah. Wow, very cool. What else? What else do you have to teach us and share about?
So, I mean, that's the one side, out with the bad, eliminating what we can so that we can lessen that burden that we have on the immune system, on the detox pathways, and opening up, removing those barriers of the adrenal stress, and then, inflammation, which the inflammation side, if you eliminate a lot of those things that are adding to that toxic load, swapping out for in with the good is adding to that anti-inflammatory side. So that's kind of the next kind of tandem of how to detox. We want to make sure the body has what it needs to actually detox, and we have to look at all of those detox organs. Like I said, the liver is famous for detox. But what about the lymphatic system? What about the lungs? What about the kidneys? And like, yeah, I mean, the GI tract is very closely connected, and even the gallbladder. The liver will do a lot of detox, but it's some of the gallbladder's job that actually gets those toxins out of the liver into the GI tract so that we can actually excrete them. So how are we going to support all of those detox pathways? The lymphatic system is very complex and intricate. I compare it to the circulatory system and the cardiovascular system, but that system has the heart that's pumping all of our blood through our arteries and our veins, and our lymphatic system doesn't have that. So what can we be doing to help that system move? Well, first of all, we need to be moving. Like, we need to actually physically be the thing that gets that lymphatic system to move. So walk. We don't have to do anything extremely vigorous. I tell people, even if it's when you go to the grocery store or you go to any store, park a little bit farther than you normally do in the parking lot, so that you have to walk a little bit farther. If you're going in a building that has multiple stories, take the stairs instead of the elevator. When it comes to exercise, I mean, all of it's great, but weightlifting, you just got to think, as your muscles are contracting, they're actually getting that lymphatic system pumping and moving. And as funny as it sounds, anything that has an against gravity pull on the body. So that's where the rebounders are very popular, in the functional world. You're jumping up and down, and as we're airborne, gravity's pulling on the body and getting that lymphatic system moving. Well, we can literally turn that upside down, and we can do inversions, or we can go up against a wall and do a handstand or a headstand. As our bodies flip upside down, gravity is pulling on that lymphatic system in a different direction. So we're getting all different ways that we can move that fluid, because really the lymphatic system is the first thing that starts pulling those toxins out of our tissues, and it's not just toxins, it's our dead cells that we need to excrete. It's bacteria that our immune system's already killed off but needs to get moved out of our body. So we want that lymphatic system moving so that all of that can then make its way to the liver and the kidneys, because all that gets dumped into the bloodstream, and then those are really those two organs that start pulling those toxins out of the blood. Kidneys tend to be responsible for more of that water soluble toxic load. So the kidneys start pulling things out of the bloodstream, send it off to the urinary system, and we excrete all those toxins out in our urine. So what do we need to support the kidneys? First and foremost, we need to be hydrated. If we are not drinking enough water, everything is just sludgy and viscous, and it's just not moving well. It becomes very stagnant. So my general rule of thumb for people is half your body weight in ounces of water a day, minimum, because most of us are still drinking a cup of coffee in the morning. Or, like I said, we want to be moving, and we'll get to it. We want to be sweating. So we want to make up for the hydration and the water, some of those dehydrating things that we're doing. We want to add some more water to it. But water is probably hands down the greatest thing that we can do to support kidney detox and kidney function. And then moving to the liver, like I said, that one's got a lot to it because it has a lot of pathways, and the liver there's different pathways that help pull out specific types of toxins. But kind of looking at the grand scheme of things with liver detox, nutrition. We used to, back in the day, the big detoxes were water flushes or master cleanses and things where we just fasted essentially. And there are times and places for fasting, but it's not going to maximize your liver detox. The liver actually requires nutrients to actually break down toxins and get them into forms that are more readily, easily for the body to actually excrete out. So it's just going back to the basics of really nutrition. You know, we want to make sure we're getting lots of our amino acids. Protein is actually very, very important for detox. Your B vitamins, especially the active methylated forms that we find naturally in our foods and not the fortified cereals and stuff that so many people, you know, start their morning off with. Vitamin C, all your minerals, magnesium, zinc, selenium, very, very important for those detox, liver detox pathways. So getting those foods in that are full of those. And then, like I said, the gallbladder is very important because we want those toxins will bind to the bile salts, and that's what pushes them into the GI tract so that then we can release, you know, excrete those out in our feces. So we don't want clogged bile ducts. So we really want to kind of out with the bad, eliminate those sludgy foods, alcohol, high fructose corn syrup, your hydrogenated oils, your really pro-inflammatory seed oils, and focus on some of those really bitter herbs. Dandelion is amazing, milk thistle, artichokes. Food wise, I mean, you can eat all of that too. Beets are fantastic, lemons, um, apples. The malic acid is very high in apples, and that really helps open the bile ducts. So, you know, an apple a day really might help keep the doctor away. Um, so just really focusing on the nutritional side to support what our bodies, you know, give our bodies what they need to actually get those detox pathways moving.
I love it. Okay, so I have a few, I wrote down a couple of notes. Um, so going back to the lymphatic system, this is just a funny thing that I shared with somebody recently. You know, in talking about moving and you know, the rebounder. I explained to somebody recently how we used to, not we, I was not alive back then. They used to ride horses,
Mhm.
donkeys, camels. Then they got into the wagon, even pulled by the horse, but they were constantly bouncing, right? And then now we have our vehicles are so smooth.
Mm-hmm.
We just ride, it rides like butter. There's no bouncing ever
So true.
unless
Yeah,
you're walking on, and I think that we should be walking, if possible, on uneven ground. So, you know, while I have a street out here, I also have a field out here. So we walk the field
I love
and
it.
it's uneven. And so I think that's beneficial. Um, the next thing, water. So I would love your, okay, so another I really don't want to call it a buzzword because I do think it's important, but something super popular right now is electrolytes. So you can't just drink plain water anymore. Why is that? And then what do you recommend for electrolytes, if you recommend that at all?
So I think there definitely is some validity. You know, I don't love, you know, I think we live in a world where if one person recommends one thing, like a little bit of something, if a little bit of something is good, then a lot of something must be great. And it's not the case. You know, we want to find that magic sweet spot. But yeah, I mean, water is polar, water is attractive. And so, you know, one side, everyone's all concerned with the toxins and the contaminants that are in their water. And so some people will go so extreme to even just drink distilled water, but that water is trying to stabilize itself. And so you run the risk of depleting your natural minerals in your body if all you're drinking is distilled water. Um, so I love having minerals in our water. Some of the packaged ones out there, some are better than others. I definitely don't love the ones that are sweetened with a lot of sugar and have other flavorings and stuff like that added to them. I know the LMT brand tends to be pretty clean. But honestly, I'm a big fan of Celtic sea salt in some water or kind of making my own electrolyte mix. You know, if we're outside and we've had a really hot, sweaty day, mixing some fresh water, you know, clean water, purified water, coconut water, a little bit of sea salt, and then just flavor it with lemon and lime juice. And you're just gonna get, I always say nature has the perfect balance of everything. So why are we trying to get a package of something that's trying to mimic what nature has out there? So, coconut water, Celtic sea salt, just kind of let it work its magic naturally.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's the package. It's the package.
Mhm.
It's yeah, all the popular things, buy it in a package or the flavor or whatever. So I love what you're saying. Yes, with salt, coconut water, what else? Yeah, the lemon or the lime. Do you ever do a little bit of honey or no?
My kids like honey. I'm
Uh-huh.
not a big sweet person, so I don't really do much with that. I tend to like more of the lemons and limes. If I add anything else to it, I might throw a splash of just real tart cranberry juice because that's another great way to just support the kidneys too.
Love it.
But I mean, yeah, if somebody wants to sweeten it, raw local honey or even like real true maple syrup are going to be probably my top choices for that.
Awesome. I love it. Okay, and then the last thing you talked about was nutrition. And people often want my help when they come to work with me. They want my help with nutrition, and I usually refer them out for that to someone else who specializes because I don't. And here's the thing, there's so many different diets and ways to eat, and I feel like there's not one way that's right for everybody. So I don't have the knowledge to know what's right for each person. So I would rather you go work with somebody who actually studies that. And so what would you say to the person who is worried about, or how do I know? Like, is just worried about food. There's a lot of people worried about food. What do I eat? What do I not eat? Today it's good, tomorrow it's not good.
Right. And I think that definitely varies with what kind of health conditions somebody's working with, or dealing with. If someone's generally healthy and just wants to kind of stay that way, or what can we do to be proactive? I definitely think it's not the biggest issue I think we have with our food is the amount of chemicals that we have in there. So really focusing on whole foods. I tell people try to buy food that doesn't have an ingredient list. If it's got an ingredient list, it's being processed and um, it's not in its natural state. So really focusing on real whole food that, I love organic food for multiple reasons. I don't think everything needs to be organic. The Environmental Working Group is a great organization that has a list called their Dirty Dozen. That is their foods that are tested with the highest level of pesticides and herbicides in them. So that's my priority of organic stuff, making sure that those foods that I purchase, those are the organic ones. And I don't have to really spend the extra money or worry about the other ones like the Clean 15 that they call, or the foods. Um, from a detox standpoint too, vegetables are your star, hands down. Get those from plants or animal sources. But your fibers from your food, your fermented foods, whether it be sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, you can ferment anything basically if you really want to. But those are the easy ones to just grab from a grocery store. With the detox pathways in and really, if we can focus on supporting those two, then
I don't know if you can hear me, but you're frozen. And oh, I think she got kicked out. That's okay. She'll be back. This is so Interesting and so important to learn about detox. So when she comes back, I'm going to ask her, if she has any resources that she wants to share with us. But I have a free detox side effects course on my website. So you can just go to my website, and under the courses tab, it's the detox. I don't know what it's called. It's a free side effects of detox. She's texting me. Hold on, let's see. So we know that when you do a detox, when you do a cleanse, not, outside of the natural things that she's talking about, when you do that, there can come some side effects like outbreaks, skin or stomach or headache. And so I have this free little course on my website where you can learn which homeopathic remedies to use to address those side effects of detox. So if you're interested in that, go to melissacrenshaw.com under the courses tab. And I honestly cannot remember the name of the course, but it has the word detox. Okay, there, she's back.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I can't see you, but I can certainly hear you. There you are.
Okay, I don't know what just happened.
Yeah.
Technology, right?
That's right. Yep, technology. So I just kept talking. I was talking about my little detox course, and I was die off symptoms. That's what it's called. So on my website, under the courses tab, there is a free class called Die Off Symptoms. So if you decide to do a detox, like you take an herbal detox or whatever, and you have those die off symptoms, homeopathy can help you through those symptoms. And then I was wondering if you have any resources that you want to share with my listeners, either anything that's from you or your practice.
For helping with those detox symptoms and the herxing.
Anything. If you want to share anything with my listeners, you can share that.
So I always find, people come in, we definitely work with people and put them on different detox protocols because that's how we clear out the burdens that are preventing their bodies from functioning optimally in the way they should. Um, Focusing on the things that we've talked about and getting those pathways open is definitely a huge part of that. But then also focusing on that gallbladder and those bile ducts. And there can be definitely, like I said, herbs and those bitters. I think we've become a society and a culture that craves sweet things. And that really has a big negative impact on our digestion. So if we can incorporate some of those bitter herbs and those just bitter foods in general, there's actually kind of a reason why, European cultures will have a cocktail with bitters in it before they sit down to a meal because it actually gets those digestive juices going. And it also stimulates and opens up those detox pathways. Because the thing is, if those bile ducts are open and the liver has all these toxins that are being flushed into it, if they can't be released into the GI tract, they're going to get reabsorbed into the bloodstream. And that's where so much of that herxing and that I feel terrible while I start a detox or when I do a detox is because you're not really eliminating your toxins, you're just recirculating throughout the body.
Goodness. Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. So thank you so much for just sharing your knowledge on detox. And I really love everything that you said because when we um if we start focusing on products, it can get expensive. I
Yes.
love what you shared, just how to do this naturally and free. And then homeopathy is very inexpensive. So, you just made me think of like I said earlier, the mental emotional state. Homeopathy can help balance help the liver to work well, and then, but also all of the body systems to work well. So, it just really goes well together. But these homeopathic detox things that are on the market, I think that they're more of a marketing thing than, a true detox. I think we should do all the things that you said. And, if your liver or any body system or your immune system needs support, homeopathy is my number one choice. So, again, thank you for being here and sharing your knowledge and wisdom on this.
Yeah,
And maybe we can get together and talk again another time about something else. Thanks for being here.
sure. Yeah, thank you so much.